Hello guys, I welcome you to this SQL tutorial. In today's video, as you can see rightly, we are here in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. We already have some couple of videos or tutorials on SQL using Microsoft Access Database Management System. So in this video, which seem to be a bit more advanced as compared to the first ones or the couple of videos that we had done over the months. In today's video, we are going to see how to practice the SQL language, or how to code or how to manage databases in Microsoft SQL Management Studio using the SQL language. So if you are new to databases, I will entreat you to watch our introductory video to SQL. In that video, you can find a link to that particular video right in the description of this particular video. So in there, you will learn about the SQL language and how useful it is and how helpful it's going to be to you as a database developer or data engineer or also a statistician. So in today's video, we are going to cover up these basic command statements in SQL. So basically, a recap: SQL is a database querying language. It is a language that we use to interact or communicate with databases, meaning that SQL is solely understood in the confinements of a database management environment. Okay, so when it comes to the arena of databases, we have database, which is a collection of related data. Then we have the database management system. So a sample of the database management system is Microsoft Access, Oracle, MySQL, then Microsoft SQL Server, which is a DBMS that we are going to use in this particular video. So in this video, we shall be covering up how to create tables or database, or in summary, how to create database objects, then drop statement, then insert statement, select where condition update tables, alter table, primary key and foreign key. Okay, so in this video, we shall be working on our new query button. So once you click the new query button, now you will see that a fresh querying environment will actually be open to you. So this is where your SQL syntaxes or your SQL codings will be done. As soon as you execute it, it will be displayed in a terminal, which will come automatically below here. Okay, so without not wasting much time, let us rightly jump into action. So right in here, we create a database. So we are going to say create database. So now you can choose to use lowercase or uppercase or a blend of the two. SQL is case insensitive, but then in this particular tutorial, I'm going to try my possible best to use the uppercase to denote special syntaxes or commands in SQL. Okay, all right, so the use of the uppercase will actually differentiate the SQL special commands from our usual commands. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to say create database. And what's the name of the database? So we are going to say shop, or we'll say shopping. Now at the end of every SQL line, do not forget to terminate it with a semicolon. Failure to do this will actually cause a whole bunch of error that will distract you at the end thereof. So create database. Now what's the name of the database? Which is shopping. All right, so you select this, then F5, or you can hit F5 to run, or just simply click the execute button over here. So now, okay, so 100% successfully. So you can see commands completed successfully, 100%. All right, so now you can see that we have a lot of databases. So once you click in here, you can see we have some couple of databases. Database or whatever line of code that we write over here should actually apply solely to the shopping database. So by so doing, we'll say use what? So you say use shopping. All right, so use shopping, you terminate it, you select, now F5 to run. Okay, so now it means that we have created our database, then we have also activated this particular database. So now we are using the shopping database. Okay, so right here in the shopping database, let us add some couple of tables. So what is a table? Now, definition of tables or explanation of tables have all been done in the introductory video that I made mention at the very beginning of this particular video. So tables, as we learned earlier on, those of us that watched the previous tutorial, you could see that tables are just containers in which records or information are actually kept in databases. If you go into the spreadsheet environment, you could see that we keep records or information in worksheets, but then if you come into a database environment, this time around informations are kept in tables, which functions synonymically as a database controls, as a worksheet. All right, so now let us create some couple of tables. So now the first table that we're going to create is going to store information about our customers. So whichever customer that comes into the shop, we track the customer's information. Okay, so now let's go. So we say create, bring two parentheses, open and close brackets. So inside these parentheses, we are going to define the various columns or the attributes of the table, and the attributes are the column names, and each column has to the data type for each column needs to be specified as well. So now we are going to say create table customers. So what are those information about customers that we are going to track here? So we are going to say add customer ID. So we say customer ID, and the customer ID for the data type will be int. So int, then we say not now. Okay, so int not now, comma. All right, so now we are going to say the first name of the customer is also needed. So we say first name. So first name. Now first name has to be a variable character. So we say voucher. Then let's say inside here we are going to store 255 characters in here, so meaning 255 characters length to be permissible. Okay, so now let me copy this, then we move down here, we add. So this one will be last name. So here we have last name. All right, so last name. Now we say DOB. So DOB, the data type will be date. Okay, now let's take the age of the customer. So age, int. Then okay, now the first name and last name columns too, let us add a constraint not now. The last name field is also required, so we say not now. Okay, so what this not now command actually does to the table is that when a user is inserting a record or a customer's record into the customer's table, without first name and last name values entered, the data wouldn't be saved, or SQL won't accept the data entry. So now we terminate it with a semicolon. You need not forget. So now we are done. We select, then we hit F5. Okay, so now here our query has been executed successfully. And then also, to make our SQL code so readable, we can add some couple of comments. And as we know from previous programming experiences, that comments are those lines of code that aren't actually executed. So here SQL, you can define a single line comment or a multiple line. So if you want to define a single line or comment on just a single line, you precede the comment with 2 dashes, then you just type in here. So let's say my customer table. So let's say my customer table. So these lines aren't they cannot be executed. SQL understands it as a comment. Okay, so if you also want to define multiple line comments, then you begin or you proceed by a backslash. So you proceed by a backslash. So in here you proceed by a backslash. So let's proceed by a backslash here. Then you bring your star, then you just type in your, between the lines you type in your comments. So let's say my customer table, has been created as this, and now you're done. So once you're done with your comments, you just terminate the comment in the same way as you started it. Okay, so now we've learned how to insert comments in SQL. So now that our customers table is created, let us now view the table structure. So we say select. Now we are going to select all records. So select all records. Now star in SQL means all records. So you select star from customers. So here it is suggested you just hit enter to have it selected. So what this select star from customers does is that it is going to retrieve all columns and then all rows or tuples from the customers table. Okay, so guess what how the output is going to look like. Okay, so now we have the columns all right over here. We have the customer ID, the first name, the last name, DOB, and the age, but you can see that we don't have any record inside. So now let us move on to look at how to insert records. So insert a comment, inserting records into tables. Okay, so sorry, it's supposed to be dashes. So now how do we insert records into tables? So now, mind you, so here we are going to use the insert statement. So this video is going to be some way a learning video, so I entreat you to follow the video with rapt attention. And then also, if you have any question, do not hesitate to put it in the comment section. Alright, so now let us look at how to insert the records into tables. So this is what we are going to do. Now we begin by saying insert. So insert into customers. So now there are two ways of inserting values or records in your tables. So over here you can say insert into customers. So insert into customers. So you can say insert into customers, let's say ID. So you define the attributes, all the attributes in your customer table. So which of the columns are you inserting records in? So we say customer ID, first name, last name, then probably you can say the DOB, then you can say the age. Okay, you can say the age. So you can do this, then you terminate it nicely. Then in here you say values. So you come in here, you say values. So right from values, now your SQL codes can be arranged, because what SQL does is that for every selected lines of code, SQL executes from the start up to where the semicolon is. Alright, so now we can say insert into customers, customer ID, first name, last name, DOB, and age. Alright, records into the customers table. So we begin by saying insert. Now insert into the table name. So you say customers. So here it comes. Alright, so insert into customers. Now because we are going to insert values into all the attributes, so before then let me highlight to show. Alright, so sorry, this was a record that was actually inserted at the backstage. So I inserted this record while I had a video paused. Alright, so now that's why we are going to learn how to insert the values in your at first. So we say insert into customers. So you can begin by defining all the attributes of your customers table. So you say customers ID, now colon your first name field, now your last name field, And then also, so if there is any column here that you would like to insert, the value in, you ignore. But over here, I would like to insert values into all of them. So I will say age. Finally, age. All right. So now we are going to insert values into this. All right. So we say here values after defining your columns. But then if values are going to be inserted in all columns, then you can ignore this and proceed straight out to values. All right. So you can say insert into, now what are the values? So we open a parenthesis for the first. So here we are going to say 2. The name is Sandra. So last name Ejekum. So Ejekum. Now let's say Ejekum was born on 2005. Then let's say 12. Okay, what is the age? Let's say it's 23. All right. So now we are done with the second customer's record. So we terminate as usual with a semicolon over here. Okay. All right. So now we highlight this line of code, we execute it. So one row affected, and this time around, if we move on to select all our records in the customers table, you can see that we have 2 customers records inserted. So now we can easily do this by having this. So let us insert plenty values. So you put a comma here, then you paste, you put a comma here, you paste, put a comma here, you paste. So okay, so now let's change this one to 3. So let's change this one to 3. Let's say Evans. So let's say Evans 30. Evans 30. So Evans 30. Let's say 26. Now my fourth customer, let's say Kwamina Inkum, was born on 1997, January 24th. Now my fifth customer, let's say Christabel Pukua. Okay, so Christabel Pukua, 1950, on the 8th month, 2nd. Then our last customer, probably, let's say Mensa Boni. All right, then we maintain the rest of the values in here. So now we have all these. So now we have all these values selected. So the second customer's records has already been inserted, but yet we still execute. Okay, so now over here, incorrect syntax, particularly line 4, we are having this because Sandra's records has already been inserted, and mind you, so to check the duplicates, we just highlight this, then we execute the completion time. Okay, so incorrect syntax near line 3, which is true. There has to be commas here, a comma here, a comma here. Then at the latter parts or the end, you put a semicolon. You have everything selected. Now we execute. So 4 rows selected. So now let's move on to select star from customers. So let's select all the values in the customers table. Okay, so now you can see that we have 6 customers records inserted over here. All right, so now let's say, for instance, we want to add a primary key. So adding a primary key. So adding a primary key, adding a primary key to the customers table. So adding a primary key to the customers table. Okay, so to do this is very simple. So now in here we come here, we say alter. So alter table customers, add so add primary key. Now what's the name of the primary key field? So the name of the primary key field is customer ID. Okay, then we put a colon here. So alter table customers, add primary key. The primary key is customer ID. Now we have it executed. All right, so we move on to select star as usual to see our table records. All right, so now what we've done this time around is that we've altered this particular table. By setting the customer ID as a primary key. So now the database has originally understood the customer ID to be a primary. That's a unique identifier of each and every record. So meaning now we can confidently move on to use the customer ID as a foreign key in other tables. Okay, so now how about if you want to delete a particular column in here? So also you say alter table. So alter table, your table name, customers. So you say drop column. So which column do you want to drop? Now let's say for instance you want to drop the DOB field. So we say the column DOB. Now we highlight, then we execute. So this time around, let us move on to select star. So select star from customers. Okay, so from customers, so alter table. Now we've dropped it successfully. So now you can see that the DOB field has been removed from the customers table. So that is how to alter table, by setting a primary key and then also by dropping some columns. Okay, as we move ahead, we shall be looking at how to drop a whole table. All right, so let's drag this downwards here. Okay, now how about if you want to select just specific, so selecting specific columns. So how do you so let's say now we want to write a query to return only the customer ID and the age. So how do we do it? So this time around we say select customer. So we say select customer. So select customer ID, age. Okay, so from which table? From customers. Okay, so what we are saying is that get into the customers table and retrieve or return the customer ID and the age. So we highlight, then we execute. So now you can see that we have customer ID and then age returned for us successfully over here. Okay, so let me select star. So now we have it over here. Now let's say you want to select customer ID, age, and then the last name. So we say last name. We highlight it over here. We execute to select. Okay. So now let's say we want to select those customers. We want the system to return those customers whose last name, whose first name begins with A. So we can see we have only Ejekun, whose last name is starting with an A over here. So now how do we do this? So This is where we introduce the where statement or the where condition also in our syntax. So we are going to say select customer ID age last name from customers, but where so we say the first name, the last name should begin with A. So we say where left, the left function. So where the left of the last name, where left last name. Now how many characters are returning? Only one. So starting from the left where the first letter is A, so we say we close it, then say where left last name number 1 or 1 is equal to A. Okay, so alright, so select customer ID age last name from customers where the first value, so the output or this code, this particular function is going to return A. So we have everything selected. Now we execute successfully. So now you can see that SQL has been very smart to return only that customer whose last name begins with A. So if he had billions of customers records in there, so let us add one more customer. So let us add one more customer. Let's say, so I will have this one copied. I'll paste here, insert into now values. So let me add only one customer. So let's say this one has ID 7. So let's say Benis. So Benis Tete. So Benis Tete. Now the DOB. So the DOB field is dropped. So this time around the age. So let's say the age is 57. Okay, we close it. Now let us execute to insert this customer's records. Okay, so now here we have an error that we need to read. Okay, so now the errors are also part of our coding. So it said invalid column name DOB, which is true because we have dropped the DOB column. So this time around we've corrected the error. Let's run it successfully. We have it run, and we come back to run this our select statement where the where condition has to return the first last name being returning A. So now we still have Ejekum. Let's select star from customers. So okay, Benis Tete. So now before then, let us update the last name of Benis Tete to start with an A. So now we come to updating records in SQL. Okay, so here we are going to say update. So updates, what are we updating? So updates, what are we updating? So we are saying updates our table. So update customers. So set last name. So set the last name to be equal to Amankwa. We want the last name to start with an A. Set the last name to be equal to Amankwa. Where the customer ID, so you come in here, what's the customer ID of Benis, which is number 7. Okay, so we are updating the customers table. We are setting, so this is what we call the update. Now this particular update statement is very much useful to statisticians who want to do data cleaning in SQL. So assuming we have about billions of customers whose customers IDs are 7, which is very much impossible, the SQL syntax will actually set their last name. So look at an example of this, what I'm talking about, so that you actually understand it clearer. So we execute, and now it is successfully updated. So let us move on to select our star. So let us go back and select star from customers. So okay, so now you can see that we've managed to update Benny's last name to Amankwa starting with A. So now we have 2 customers whose last name start with A. All right, so guess what? Should we move on to rerun this particular line? So to rerun this particular line, it is going to return 2 customers whose last names starts with an A. Now, one very important property or feature of SQL is that it's not a programming language. You can see that the code, any part of the code can be run. It's not a sequential programming language. All right, so we move on. Okay, so now let us select everything from our table. So we say select star from customers. So select star from customers. We select it. Now F5 to run. All right, so now let's say, for instance, we want to select those customers. We want to select those customers whose ages are greater than 20. Whose ages are greater than 20. So we say select star. We want to return all their records, so all the columns and then the tuples. So we say select star from customers where age is greater than, so where the age is greater than 20. We terminate it here. Now let us run. So we want to see those customers whose ages are greater than 20. Okay, so it has returned everything. Now let's change it to less than. So age is less than or equal to 20. Let us run it. So error, incorrect syntax here. So that is true. Okay, so none. Now we don't have any of the customers having their ages less than 20. So you can move on to update age of any of the customers. So let's say update customers, set age. Now let us set age. So let us set age of Benny's to 15. So we are updating that. Now it's updated. So this time around, if we execute the code, you can see that we have 1 customer's record being returned because that is the only customer whose age is less than 20. Okay, so these are some basic. Now because we don't have much records, so in the next video, this one is just a second introductory video to the SQL code, SQL database language. Now in the next video, we shall be looking at how to import a database outside this particular environment and have it manipulated or cleaned. So in there, we shall have the opportunity to work our way around some basic descriptive or summary statistics in SQL. Okay, so for now, we move on to create orders table. So we move on to create orders table. All right, so we are going to create orders table. So we begin by saying create. So create table name is orders. So table name is orders. Create table orders. Now you bring your brackets. Sorry. Let's move down. Okay, so let me expand these brackets. So this is where we are going to define the attributes of our table. So we are going to say order ID, and it's also going to be an int, and it's not now. Okay, so order ID int not now. Now we say customer ID. So customer ID. So customer ID also int not now. Okay, so now this customer ID is going to serve as a foreign key or a reference key in the order table. Now each order that will be entered in the orders table is going to be for a particular customer. Our customers are going to make orders. So what we are saying is that now if you are adding a value or a record in the orders table, the data entry personnel has to define the customer that made the particular order. So you can see that by so doing, you're going to use their IDs. So if you say, for instance, when you start entering the data, we'll understand this one clearly. So now we say order ID int not now, customer ID int not now. So we can say we can also add here products. So we can say products. So what's products? Now if this one if it has been, because of time, we cannot actually add a product table, like a whole table needs to be created for products as well. But here we're just going to say product name, and product name will be a voucher. Product name will be a voucher. So let's say voucher 70. Okay, so voucher 70, product name voucher. So what product did you come to buy? And then also now we say quantity. So we say quantity. So quantity is also going to be int. So quantity is going to be int. Okay, so product name quantity. Now we say price. So we say price. So what is a price? And the price also has to be a voucher or a variable character. So sorry, price, variable character. So variable character. So the price of a product can actually be a real value or a decimal. So instead of int, we are going to rather say double. Okay, so price voucher. Now let's say, sorry, quantity has to be int, price rather has to be double. All right, so your order ID, your customer ID, then your product name, which is a variable character, then you specify your quantity, then one more important thing, which is the sale date. So the sale date, data type being date here. Okay, so comma, now we can add a primary key straight out here. So you can say, primary key. So what is the primary key? The primary key is order ID. So you say order ID. Okay, so this one is unlike the first one that we added a primary key by using the alter table command. So over here we've added the primary key straight out. So primary key being order. Now we can confidently terminate our code, or the termination is already done for us over here. So let us run this line of code with a little word of prayer. Okay, so here we've encountered an error. Let us read into the error message. So unknown object type orders used in the create or drop or alter statement. So that is true. So it's supposed to be create table orders. So create table orders. Now let us run it. Incorrect syntax near. So now let us read into the code. All right, so now let us try to debug this error together. All right, so price double. All right, so let's change, because you can see that when you hover the pointer over the double, you can see the error. It has given you a tip that incorrect syntax near expect an ID. So now let's say float. So let's change the float and see. Now they say float is a data type. All right, so let us run execute. Successfully, we have our orders table created. Okay, so now let us move on to select star. So select star from orders, we terminate it. Now we have everything highlighted. So we have order ID, customer ID. So let us move on to alter the table and define the primary key. So now we say alter table, orders. So add primary key. So add primary key. Sorry, we already have the primary key over here. So we say add foreign key instead. So let us define a foreign key. So add foreign key. And what is a foreign key in this particular table? Mind you, that is a customer ID. So we say customer ID. So in here, we are not adding a primary key because the primary key has already been inserted in the create table. So we have already created a primary key. So we are adding a foreign key, customer ID, and what is it referencing? So we say references. So references the customers table. Now inside the customers table, what is it referencing? It is referencing customers or customer ID. Okay. So now with a little word of prayer, we run this our alter table commands or statements. So now our foreign key is successfully set. It's a constraint. So now it means that in this order table, so let me view the structure for you. We have order ID primary key because every order has to be identified uniquely. Then the customer ID records are going to be picked, or those values are going to be picked from the customers table. So for every order, we are going to specify the customer that's made the order. That is why it is serving as a foreign key. So in future, we shall be looking at how to build a relationship between the previous table, customers table, and then the orders table using the foreign and the primary key. Okay. So guys, let us proceed to insert records. So we say inserting orders. So let us insert orders. So as usual, we say insert. So we are inserting values into orders. So orders. So this time around, we are going to insert values into all the columns, and just as I told you earlier on, because we are inserting values in all the columns, we choose not to specify any columns. So straight out we say values, and what are the values what are our values? So these are the values for the first order that we received. So in here, order ID we say is 1. Then the customer, so let's say it's the customer number 2 that made that order. So what is the product name? So let's say Omo. So let's say it's Omo soap. So you say Omo soap. So Omo soap. Now quantity 10. What is the price per quantity? So let's say price per quantity is 3.5. Okay, because there is inflation here. So now we are going to say 1998. Sorry. 2022. The sale was made on this particular date. 09. Okay. All right. So now we've exhausted all columns. So we have it highlighted. We select. Now let us run. So one row affected. Now let us view. So we select star from orders, and you can see that we have the first order in here, which is coming from customer ID 1. All right. So now we copy this again. So now let me copy this. So let us insert plenty. Okay, so now we have this one here. So now let's say order number 2, order number 3. In a subsequent video, we'll be looking at the auto increment feature or the auto numbering. All right, so we say 6, we say 7, we say 8. Okay, so now let's say this sale was also made by customer ID 2, but then the item bought was Galaxy S8 and the person bought 2 and the price was 2,500 Ghana cedis. So let's say 21. All right, now let's say the next sale, customer number 1, item bought was Snappy Biscuits. Quantity bought was 100 and price is 2.4. So this sale was also made on 2022 first, let's say first month. Now this sale too was made by customer number 3. Let's say item bought was bread, so let's say sugar bread. So quantity bought was 23 and the price here is 10 cedis. So let's maintain the date. So let's say the next item bought polythene, so 1 and the price per item, that one, the cheapest item of all time, 50 pesos. Then we specify the purchasing dates. So now let's say this sale was made by sale ID 4, then this one is sale ID 7, now this one sale number 5. So let's say the item the person bought was battery, that is Lion battery. So Lion battery, so over here Lion battery he bought 3, price per item let's say is 5 cedis. So let's say it's 4. So let's say this one the item bought was non-dairy, so we say non-dairy, quantity bought 2, the price is 7.5 and the sales date we maintain it to be like this. Okay, so now we are done. We move on because we've already inserted the first record. I'll remove it and now we select everything in here. So let us check. There has to be commas because the commas are telling the DBMS that each parenthesis contain records or values for a single order. Okay, so now we come to the end of it all. So we select with execute. 7 rows affected, meaning we've inserted 7 records. So let us move on to view. So we say select. We want to select all columns and all rows from the orders table. So we say select style from orders. Okay, so here we are, F5 to run. Okay, so here we have some couple of orders over here. So here as usual, you can move on to select only specific columns. So you can say select order ID, product name, sale date. So we just want to return only these few columns. So from orders, so select order ID, product name, sale date from orders. Okay, So we have it highlighted, we execute. Now you can see that, so because we run 2 queries at a time, so you could see 2 displays over here, but then we just want only this one. So now return this. So let me view the format. Okay, so now let's say, for instance, we want to find all sales made on this particular date. So we say select star, so select star from orders where sale date, so where sale date is equal to, what we've copied so far. So we want to find all the sales that we made on that particular date. So we execute, and now you could see the number of sales that we made, which are just 4. Also, so in this video is limited to summary statistics. We shall be covering that in the next video. So select start from orders where the sale date is equal to this. Now let me select everything again. All right, so now let us also select to see the number of OMO soaps that were bought. So where product name is equal to OMO soap. Okay, so where product name is equal to OMO soap. All right, now you can also count all records in here. So you can say select count, select count star, select count star from orders. Okay, so I think this will be the only summary statistic we'll actually look at. So we are selecting count star from orders. So now 8, meaning that we have 8. So now you see no column name. So this is where aliases comes in. So aliases are temporal names that we assign to columns in our SQL line. So we are just going to assign a name to this column here. So we say select count from orders. So select count star as what? So as total orders. So select count as total orders from orders. Okay, all right, now execute. So you can see the name of that column is now total orders. So you can also select distinct to find out the distinct customers that made sales. So we say select distinct. So we say select distinct. So distinct customer ID. Select distinct customer ID. So from orders. Okay, so select distinct customer ID from orders. All right, so run. So now this customer number 1 made a sale, number 2 made a sale, 3, 4, 5, and 7 all made sales. Okay. Okay, so now let me view. So results in here. Now I want to update the OMO, where the product name is equal to OMO soap. We want to change it to ClearSoft. So let us do that. So we say update orders. So set product name to be equal to, ClearSoft original. So to be equal to ClearSoft original. Where product name, so where the product name is equal to OMO soap. Okay, so go into my orders table. Now set the product name to be equal to Claysoft Original, where my product name is equal to Omo Soap. So we run this, and now we select our star from orders, and you will see that now our product name has been changed from Omo Soap to Claysoft. So this particular functionality in SQL is very much useful in data cleaning, whereby if you just want to change values for only column that specify particular criteria, you can easily define it right in here. Okay, so this has been a very much lengthy video. We shall be ending it over here, family. So in the next video, do not forget to watch the next video. We are going to cover up, guess what, joins, and then also summary, statistics, and data importations in SQL. Thank you very much for watching. Kindly do your possible best to push this video upwards for other people that are share in our interest to also have it and watch, and then also comment to make the channel so engaging. If you can also find right in the description of the video my contact if you want to hit me up for aid or help in any project that you actually about, I will be very much grateful to assist you. It's a pleasure having you right here on this YouTube channel. We learn together. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.